Hey everybody, this is Frankie Abbruzzino with The Scoop, and I am here with Daniel Tucci. He's the president of the local union for the City of Venice employees.
Ask me, members.
The members?
Ask me.
Okay. And there you have it. So what we're going to do is discuss a DOJ case that came out, and the decision was not in favor of the City of Venice. And what happened basically is they came out and said you got to pay $190,000 plus back pay. And we're going to go into that and some other issues, like why wasn't this discussed at the council meeting on this Tuesday? And I've talked to some city council members, I'm not going to say who, and they weren't even aware of some of the issues that are in this complaint. So I'm going to read from the complaint. This is the actual complaint that went to the DOJ, and basically this is what they said: City of Venice, you were wrong, and they penalized them. It's all on this individual, city employee Williamson. He was a truck driver, hired back in 1987, 1990, who was promoted. 2000, he was promoted again, basically to heavy equipment operator. Racial hostility at Public Works Department back in 2015. This was fun. This was odd. Not funny. Was not aware of this. There was a noose hung in the Public Works workplace. Basically, what happened is Alan Bullock, if you don't know, is the HR director for the City of Venice, and he's someone that I have a great deal of concern about, which you're going to hear throughout this interview. He basically came out and concluded that there was no intended malice with it. You see a noose hanging up in the workplace, we all know what it's like. I mean, Bubba's was a garage hanger, and we saw everything that happened with this, but this was more intent with the noose and stuff. Then there's an individual, his supervisor, his name's, I guess, Pettit, and they said that he exhibited anti-black racial animus in the workplace, generally towards Williamson. Often used the racial slur, the N-word. They talk about in 2006 where they had a co-worker who would handle the trash. He said, let the N-word do it, referring to Williamson. That angered Williamson. They didn't like... Supposedly, he alleged that Pettit back in 2010 didn't like Williamson talking to white females. Outside his office, ended with co-worker calling Williamson an N-word. Pettit refused to take any corrective action. Neither did Ellen. There's numerous issues where they talk about his skin color and just a bunch of racial issues that went on there. And this has all been building up with little action taken by the HR director towards the supervisor or towards resolving the issue with Williamson. And I guess it came to a head, and you're limited on what you can say because you're the president of the union. That's why I wanted to have you here. And I'm going to get up and fix the screen in a second because it looks crooked to me. But why don't you tell a little bit about yourself, what you do for the city employees, and then I'll ask you to elaborate. We'll start with the medical thing that I think finally pushed this over the edge where the DOJ finally came in.
Well, I'm the union president. I've been the president for, I don't know, about 15 years. Negotiate the contracts. If there's problems, we file grievances, which we did file on Williamson's behalf, 3 of them. Won 1, lost 2. The one we won was about him being in the hospital. The other were disciplinary actions. We're just trying to make sure the contract's enforced. There's tools in the toolbox that we are allowed to use, and FMLA is one of them with Division of Wage and Labor. And with the medical, like you were getting to, they denied him. When he was in the hospital, I went and picked up the paperwork, brought it to him, filled it out, and it got returned back to the city. The city denied that, said it didn't fit the criteria. Well, Mr. Williamson's a diabetic, so it does fit the criteria.
And this was for him missing work or having to be in the hospital?
He was in the hospital.
Okay.
And to get FMLA to protect his rights, they denied. Now,
was this the HR office?
HR office.
Okay.
Denied. It goes through HR, and they say if it fits the criteria or not.
Okay.
It's important to know your rights, whether you're individual or in a group. Know your rights. He gave me permission to go into his file. I made a call to Division of Wage and Labor with the FMLA. We set up a telephone conference. Paperwork was filed with the FMLA. The city came back and reversed their decision, knowingly that they were wrong the first place. Alan's thing was to me, or the city's thing was to me, file a grievance. There's tools in the toolbox. That was one of the tools. They came back 9 months later, reversed it.
All right. And do you know why they reversed it? Was it just the pressure from?
No, it fit the criteria for FMLA by
Okay.
federal statutes, as my understanding goes.
All right. So after that, what occurred?
He was in the hospital. They wrote him up for not being able to call in one time.
So he was in the hospital with a medical issue. They
Correct.
knew this, and they wrote him up for not calling into work.
He had an incident at work.
Okay.
From work, he went right to the hospital,
All right.
and they were fully aware of it.
They were fully aware of it. Okay.
My understanding is, because I got involved a little bit later,
Okay.
he went in, couldn't call in. He had no cell phone, no nothing. And when, long story short, he was wrote up for failure to call in. But he went into the hospital in city time. I believe that's in the the brief.
Correct. I read that. And so he's in there. What happens after that? They write him up.
They wrote him up. We went to arbitration on this. We won the arbitrations. We won the arbitration on this.
Okay.
I mean, there's certain precedents that are set. State City was aware. They lost that one.
All right. And what got it to the DOJ level? They lost that, and I guess they still weren't cooperating? Or?
Well, no. Racial discrimination is a hard thing to prove. Like I said, I may be the union president. I'm a high school graduate. I'm not familiar with all the laws. I'm familiar with my contract.
Uh-huh.
And our contract recognizes state and federal laws,
Okay.
which supersede our contract and supersedes the city's policies and procedures.
All right.
So I took Mr. Williamson up to Tampa to file racial discrimination against the City of Venice, and he did that.
Okay.
It took time. Nothing in government works quick. It seems like it always takes forever, and it did. I think about 5 years.
Was he working with the city during
Yes,
this
he
time?
was.
Okay. All right.
Yes, he was. They notified the city that there was a case going, and usually the city says, not true, we'll defend this, this ain't right, whatever. They're always on the offense. EEOC investigated, found merit, presented to the DOJ. The DOJ done their investigation. They interviewed a whole bunch of employees, not just me, former employees and current ones. I wasn't in there for the interviews. There were one-on-one. I was one-on-one with the DOJ, so was other employees. So I don't know what everybody said. Names aren't given, but apparently they found calls against the City of Venice.
Now, a lot of this stuff in the complaint, was it surprising for you to see it in there?
What you just showed me, yeah.
And I'll put this on my website when I get back to the house, guys, so you can see the actual complaint. I basically was reading it word for word on here.
Yeah, I'm not there all the time. I don't hear people tell me stuff, but there's other people that heard and seen apparently from this complaint. There was animosity. Mr. Williamson was a heavy equipment operator doing parks trash for 5 years. Management that came in after the old management left wasn't that great. It got ratcheted up after the old management left and new management came in. There was an axe to grind from the city to Mr. Williamson, in my opinion. And by his work details and all that, the city does have certain rights. I will say they do have certain rights to assign job duties, but they don't have rights to violate state, federal, and contract, which apparently the DOJ said they did.
Now, do you think a lot of the issues are stemming, and I doubt you can say anything, but so the viewers are aware, there's actually 2 other city cases out there, city employees. I'm not going to name their names or the positions, but one I've written about before, and the other one is even stronger, involving a lady. I don't know. I don't think you can comment. Can you comment on those at all?
I just know what I hear.
Okay.
And I read the one in the Gondolier and what you post on your site. If it's true, the city does have issues, and apparently it goes to the top at City Hall, in my opinion. With the DOJ settlement that they have right now, they're supposed to come up with a policy to negate all this BS that's going on. That's part of the settlement. I haven't seen it, but that's what I'm being told. City employees, once this is settled, supposed to go to training. I got a few questions as to who's doing the training, who's telling us what's politically correct and not in the workplace. We've had this some years back. We had a noose hanging some years ago, I want to say around 98 to 2000, over a supervisor's desk. A black man's. It made the gondolier, and you might have even had something on it. The old management was supposed to be disciplined. They weren't. There was a confidence of no faith held. They went back and disciplined the employees at the time that were involved in it. And then we had...
was Alan the director of HR then too?
No, that was, I think, Raleigh Reynolds.
Okay.
Alan, if I remember correctly, and like I said, if I remember correctly, Alan started out as a temp at the East Side plant and worked his way up to where he's at now.
Okay.
The old management was like Larry Heath, Raleigh Reynolds, George Hunt, and all of them. There was a issue with the East Side with the EPA that Skip was part of, and to his credit, I guess he did good over there and getting stuff cleaned up. But it was a hostile work environment and the EPA violations. The city came up with this policy. Part of the EPA, as my understanding, settlement was pride. And I forget what exactly means right now, but everybody had to sign it. Productivity, respect.
I've heard that acronym before.
Productivity, respect, ethical treatment, something. Skip signed it. We all signed it that was here. I don't know if Alan did or not. I don't know if he was a temporary or if he was a permanent employee back then or not.
All right.
But everybody signed it. We're supposed to go by that. And that's one of the biggest things back then, even though it was almost 20 years ago. But it has been really followed according to the DOJ. The city hasn't kept their end up.
Yeah, and keep in mind, guys, this is a case where the DOJ actually made a decision and the city lost. And I'm going to cover a couple of other concerns that I have with that. Now, is when they come up with a new plan with this loss, are they going to sit down with the union president, you, and say, hey, what would work best? How can we work this, and how can we create a better work environment? Because I got to tell you, and you may not know this, I've had a couple city employees write me, and one is actually African American. And they've told me of a very hostile, they don't like the HR director. They feel that he did very little to diminish the racial disparities or the commentary, all that stuff that was happening there. And I don't even know if you're aware of that as the president.
No, I'm not.
They actually wanted a protest, and they want me to help them do a protest against it.
Well, why not? I mean, I guess that's the First Amendment rights to protest. I mean, you look what's going on with this country with protesting, so why not? If they want to do it, sure, let's have a protest. I don't see any problems with that. Off the clock on your time.
Yeah. Now, are you hoping that the city, Alan, the city manager, Ed LaBelle, and Brambo, and hopefully the council will all work out a plan that they can create a better work environment, and they'll include you and the city employees to make sure?
Well, if the city has rights that supersede our contract, it's their rights under law anyway, and this is coming down from the feds. It's going to be interesting to see what they do if they do notify all the unions, really. There's 4 unions here at the City of Venice. We're just one of them. So if they do that, they should notify all the union presidents, let them know this is what's going on. It would be the right thing to do instead of springing it on them as a surprise.
Yeah, because I think the other 2 racial discrimination suits or complaints are actually under another union, I believe, within the city for the city employees, isn't it?
I hear it's out of PD, so
okay.
Yes.
All right.
From what I read, one is in civil court or federal court, and I hear the other one is with the EEOC. And if it's found to be valid, they will pass it on to the DOJ, and the DOJ will be here at the City of Venice again. And I'm pretty sure since they deal with this stuff, the federal government's aware of the other lawsuits, because I'm pretty sure when they investigated the City of Venice, that one was in the newspaper, and I know they got that one, I'd be willing to bet. And with the EEOC, I'm pretty sure they're aware of that one too. So the DOJ carries a heavy hammer.
Now let me ask you this. I found out, was talking to someone at Lowe's, and I found out about 2 months ago that there was a suit. I heard about $500,000 with back pay and everything, so we're in that neighborhood. Yet I'm told that the mayor didn't know about it, and nobody, the city council, nobody really knew about it, and that's why they didn't plan in the budget. And I find that real hard to believe. Do you know anything that you've heard that you can speak at a presidential level of the union?
Well, only from what I read, the email that John Hollick put out said he didn't know. about it, and if that's true, then
Now,
the city
this
has
was
a
2 months ago,
problem.
so I know
Right.
Hollick was out of office then. He wasn't.
But this happened way before the elections. I mean,
did he say he didn't know about the case? Because I knew about it at the election time.
Right, but
Oh, I didn't know
it
that.
might
Okay.
be that this goes back. The EOC notified the city when, I believe, 5 years ago. So that would be the time that the mayor and
Yeah.
other council people were involved. I don't know what.
I think he meant he didn't know the payment that we lost
Oh.
and how much. Maybe, and maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. That I really don't know. I find it to be surprisingly that they didn't know about this. If they didn't know about it, then the city's in a world of trouble because staff isn't doing their job. I know, according to my understanding of the city charter, is that council ain't supposed to get into the daily operations of the City of Venice. But I would imagine, like the President of the United States, you have staffers telling you what you need to know. If staffers did not tell City Council what was going on with this, since it was federal, then I would think, as my opinion, that somebody's in a world of trouble.
Yeah, and for you guys out there, when I heard 2 months ago, that was prior, just about when budgets were starting up, or they were discussing them. Maybe they were in the middle of them. I don't really recall. And the issue is they weren't budgeted. Nobody budgeted for this. Let's call it $500,000. Nobody. And the question is if the city and Ed Lavelle knew, why didn't they say something to the council? Because the council is the group that works on the budget, and Ed's a part of that whole budgetary process. If the mayor did know, because that's what I've heard through the grapevine, why wasn't it communicated to the rest of the council? I can tell you, I've talked to a council member. He wasn't aware of any of this. He wasn't aware of a lot of stuff that's taking place, because I asked him, I said, you know, I listened to Tuesday's meeting and I knew this interview was coming up, and I wanted to know why it wasn't discussed, why nobody mentioned this major loss where a lot of money was going to be paid out. And I know with those other 2 pending cases, there might be more money, and how come it wasn't discussed, the budget and what you need to do, and the racial situation that's going on at the city. And he was wondering this exact same thing. And, you know, it's real concerning. Now, why don't you go ahead and wrap it up and give your final thoughts on everything.
Well, I would like to see things move forward. This is the 21st century. Jim Crow laws should not be existing. Even last century, they should have been done away with. I've been here for 25 years. I see some stupid shit, even some of it racial done. The N-word wrote on a locker. The N-word on a piece of equipment that an employee operated. Hard to prove who did it, but it shouldn't be that way. Today's climate with racial discrimination, with what's going on nationally, I could kind of understand why the city wanted to keep this low key, but not to tell the elected officials of what's going on is wrong if that's true. I don't know, I'm not in those meetings. It's above my pay grade, but if that's true, then it's not right. The city has a good old boy system in place, as I see it, and DOJ kind of proved it here. With the other 2 cases pending, we'll see what goes on. But if that's the case, then it starts up at the higher end of the food chain at City Hall. I don't think the city acted appropriately in their investigation. I don't know how it was conducted on their end. They don't explain that to me, and that's their right. If that was a bargaining employee that did that, they'd be gone. In fact, there was an employee that actually did use the N-word here at the city, and he was terminated for it, that's my understanding.
Rightfully so.
And yeah, I agree, it's rightfully so. He was caught saying it, he was terminated. They kept that one under the rug. But I did inquire and I did find out it was true. So there is a double standard, I think, or a clique. Clique would be a better word to use, really. Birds of a feather flock together. So I'd like to see this go forward, but I would like to see justice be carried out on the properties that are being done, and the city will do what they're going to do.
Now, I've included the city email address on here. You can just click it. It will send an email to the mayor and all the council members. Also, I'm going to send this video once I get it on my website. I'll load it after this. And I encourage all of you guys, we are the taxpayers. Ed Lavelle, the council members, everybody's basically working there for us. And I, as a taxpayer, don't like to see that city employees are going through this type of work environment, a hostile work environment, which a few employees have contacted me about. I'm really wondering why Ed Lavelle hasn't talked to his HR manager and taken some type of action, be it penalty, just saying, hey, look, we're going to slap you with whatever they do, here's a notice saying you really screwed up, or terminate, whatever they feel is right, whatever is justified. And the same with the supervisors and everybody down, because what they're doing now by inaction is saying it's tolerated. Continue as always. Business
condoned.
as usual. It's being condoned.
It's being condoned.
And we as taxpayers, we can't allow that. And we got to put pressure on our government officials to talk to the city manager and say, enough's enough. We need action. Also, we need to find out why this wasn't budgeted. $500,000.
Well, it's actually $195,000 on Williamson's case.
Is it 195? Now is that with the back pay?
That's including the back
Okay,
pay.
195. I stand corrected. It's still a lot of money that's not budgeted.
Well, you're right. When I went to school, I was taught the government works for the people. The people don't work for the government. I'm a government employee. I work for the citizens. There is a chain of command. The citizens are the ones that tell City Hall what to do, and it goes right downhill, right down to the lowest employees. So it's up to the taxpayers to decide on what they want, nationally, locally, even here at the City of Venice.
Awesome. All right, and that's it. So Dan, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Everybody, just hit that email, and I'll put it up on my website when I get done here. And thanks a lot for joining the broadcast.
Right.
Hold on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Go ahead, Hector.
On behalf of the union, you should know that the union would welcome the city's request to help in formulating policies where this is not needed. We've tried to work with them in the past. This is an opportunity that the city could approach all four unions and say, let's work on this together so it doesn't happen again.
All right, on the phone is Hector. Why don't you tell his position?
Hector is the Council 79 representative who, when we have arbitrations requests, goes through Council 79 since they're the ones that pay for it. He's like our legal advisor.
And basically, if you didn't hear him, he was wanted to communicate to the city, hey, we're willing to work with you. We want to be involved in creating and implementing new policies. And did I miss anything, Hector?
No, and I'm sure the other unions feel the same way.
And he says that he's sure that all the unions feel the same way, that they want some input and involvement in creating these new policies going forward so that the employees can work in an environment that's not hostile towards them. All right, everybody, share this video and click the link and tell the city council what you think about it. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.